be a loser.
Hi, my name is Black Who's Your Gal, aka Maggie, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it. It's free, so no commitment here. I'm coming to you today to talk about my trip to Ann Arbor, my Airbnb experience. Now, this is not the first trip that I've had during what we're experiencing, or what other YouTubers call the panini, but this was the first one that I did after restarting my YouTube channel. Now, for the first year, I went absolutely nowhere, and it was because I have asthma, and there's a fear with something that affects your lungs, that my lungs are already weak. I don't need something like Corona affecting my lungs even further. So for the first year, I just sat out, stayed at home, stayed pretty much quarantined, didn't go anywhere pretty much. I think I went up to northern Indiana to go to the dunes because I did need to do something. It was hard being cooped up as long as we have been, or we are, depending on how you're still operating. But after I was vaxxed, I went to Cedar Point. Oh, whoops, I'm not paying attention. Quarantine for 2 weeks, but I went to Cedar Point. I really loved that trip. That was the first trip I went back to Ann Arbor for. So I went to Ann Arbor and Cedar Point in May. And then I had another trip, again, I can't remember when, but it's October 23rd today. And so last month I spent time in Ann Arbor from October 24th, I think, to the October 29th. And then I went back in early October for 5 days again, staying in the same Airbnb host chain thing, whatever. So I felt comfortable where I was downtown. And I'll show you guys video of what I'm talking about, as well as the Airbnb listing that I went through in Ann Arbor. I do recommend this place because it was very clean. It was very easy. I had free parking downtown, which is hard to get. And they had a fully stocked kitchen. I didn't use, but if you're on a diet like I should have been, or not on a diet, I've changed my eating habits, but I don't always stick to it. So I usually would meal prep for trips like these. So it's helpful to have those utensils and the pots and pans and all the things so you can warm up your food that you've already cooked. So it had a fully stocked kitchen. It had a really nice bathroom. Now they call it sexy bathrooms, the actual apartment building. I don't see anything sexy about it, but it was clean. So I enjoyed that. They had a Zen garden, a gym, and a rooftop, all of which I never really got to enjoy because I was there for a research trip. So I was driving 2 hours a day, going to Detroit, coming back to Ann Arbor. Now I could have stayed in Detroit, but because I don't know the area and I don't really have friends there, it's hard to just go into a city you have no experience in and then get an Airbnb and figure out the rest later. It's hard to figure out what areas are for the best because a lot of those Airbnb listings in Detroit, it warns you not to leave anything in your car because there's a lot of car break-ins. I really rather not deal with issues such as those. I'm sure there are great Airbnbs in Detroit, and I would eventually hope that someone would recommend one for me, and maybe I'll look around YouTube for one. But at this time, I just have not felt comfortable being in Detroit because I don't know any other food places. I don't know the area. I'm not familiar at all. So it's just way easier for me to stay in Ann Arbor, somewhere that I've lived for 2014, 2015, 2017 to 2020. So around 5 years I lived in Ann Arbor, and it's a decent city. It's easy to get around. There are some issues there, but this is about the Airbnb. So this Airbnb is actually in an apartment building. I don't know if the apartment building is managing this. It seems to be through some website, and I will give details below. But the customer service was great. They responded well. The check-in was really easy. So in order to check in, you have to call the person that's in the building. You have to check in before 9, which is reasonable. I was running late one time I came back up there, but it was fine. So you have to check in before 9. You get let in, you are able to get the keys, you're able to get the parking pass for the parking garage is right next door. That's connected through the building through the elevator. So the parking garage is right there in the middle of downtown. Very close if you're from Ann Arbor to Fleetwood. So Fleetwood is one of my favorite diners. Now, haven't visited since what we've been experiencing because it is very small. There's not a lot of room. You cannot space 6 feet. I don't think that's possible. Anyway, distraction by the food that's around, but it is close to Fleetwood and it kind of borders the beer garden. So you have free parking for your stay in that garage. It's very convenient. You can walk everywhere else you need to go downtown. I walked to campus because I had to go to the UHS. I had to go to the University Health Services. But it was really easy to check in. The customer service was great. It was clean. Now I will say that the kitchen floor and the hard floor was not as clean as I would have wanted. I don't think they're mopping as much as they should, but the bathroom floor was clean and the bathroom shower was very clean. Now this is in an apartment building, so there are full-time residents there, but it seems to be some floors are mostly Airbnbs. I don't know if it's because what we've been in, if people just didn't come back to the city as much, or if it's more profitable to have an Airbnb versus having a full-time resident. Regardless, it's a pretty nice place. It is built a little bit like Munger. You don't have, at least in the first apartment I was in, you don't have a window in your room. You do have a full wall of windows to look out into downtown and to the Zen Garden that I had access to, along with the rooftop. The rooftop for you to enjoy and relax, and then the gym, and I think that was all the amenities there. But it was nice to look at. I think if I had had time, I would have enjoyed spending time down there doing my work, but I was too busy going back and forth to Detroit. But anyway, back to the actual apartment. So the bathroom, as I said, was clean. The kitchen floor was iffy, but I wore socks the whole entire time. The bedroom was very spacious. The closet was also spacious. It allowed me to hang up my clothes, and it did have a washer and dryer. So I was able to wash my clothes before I return home, so it made it way easier to unpack and know that everything's taken care of before I leave. The kitchen was well stocked. for a person who is trying to change their eating habits, especially for me, because I'm going to be a bridesmaid, so gaining weight and not fitting the dress is something that I'm worried about. I could have, did not, but I could have meal prepped and brought things up to cook and healthier things. But they did have utensils for me to eat, so the plates, the cups, the utensils, so the forks, spoons, and knives, which was nice. And they did have some, if you wanted to cook with their spices, I think they just had salt and pepper and I think oil to cook anything that you would like. And they had the pots and pans. I did not touch any of those things, but it was nice to know that it was there for my second visit, because I did visit again. But in this first apartment, and I'll show video, it's not a studio because you do have a separate room and you can close the little sliding door, but there is a gap above, so you can hear everything that's in the kitchen or in the TV room. And so there's a problem that comes with that. The reason why that's a problem, at least it wasn't for me, but there is a trash truck that visits every morning around 5:30. It didn't wake me up in that apartment because that room had no windows, so it was more like Munger. It had no windows, so I couldn't really hear the outside. I'm a heavy sleeper when I feel safe, so I didn't hear anything. Now, when I stayed in a 2-bedroom, and I'll show that video and do kind of like a mini separate review, it was audible, very audible, and it did wake me up every morning around 5:30. Now, I was able to go back to sleep right after that trash truck left, but my boyfriend, who was staying in a 2nd bedroom, he was not that disturbed to sleep. He's a very light sleeper, so it's just, he realized downtown is not somewhere he wants to live. Now, usually visiting these Airbnbs, you have access to like Netflix and everything. Now, that wasn't logged in, and I'm kind of a germaphobe. I don't like touching remotes anyway. So if it wasn't easily like accessible in that way, I wasn't gonna spend too much time touching that remote. So I decided to pass on the TV and just use my laptop for everything, which was fine because I like watching things in bed as I do my hair. So that was best for me. Overall, it was a really nice day. If you want to list your experiences with Airbnb, let me know the bad and the good. I will tell you guys a story about my first experience at an Airbnb in Israel. It was not pleasant. It was not great. And I also felt threatened by the host. Well, she did threaten me. So I was threatened by the host, and I was happy that I was not standing near the steps I walked up with my luggage with, because I feel as though she probably would have pushed me. But that'll be another video when I get into the good and the bad of my Israel trip back in 2018 I went. So I have a lot of footage from that. I thought that I would do a vacation video about that a long time ago for me and for friends and family, but I did not at all. I did not. But anyway, I hope to see you guys at the next video.
Get back, Morgan.